What do a software engineer from Silicon Valley, an exhausted nurse from a busy city hospital, a teacher questioning her future, and even a Wall Street analyst all have in common? It's a quiet thought that often starts late at night, a conversation whispered over the kitchen table after the children are asleep. They are not just dreaming about a different life, they are planning for one. And for a surprising number of them, that new life is just across our northern border, in Canada. This isn't a story about a few isolated cases. It's the beginning of a story about a great reconsideration, a deep and personal reevaluation of what it means to feel safe, to feel secure, and to build a future for one's family. For generations, the narrative was always about coming to America to find that promise. It was the destination, the end of the journey. But what happens when the people who seem to have achieved that dream start to feel that the journey must continue elsewhere? Consider a family of 5 on their ranch in Montana. They had the land, the space, the big sky, all the classic elements of the American ideal. But the mother found herself struggling. As she put it, her own mental health was suffering in the environment around her. It was a feeling she could not shake, and it was not the kind of world she wanted for her children. So, with a heavy heart but a clear purpose, they made the decision to leave, to exit the United States and see if a different way of life was possible just a few hours' drive north. It's a choice born not of failure, but of a different kind of success, the success of putting your family's well-being above all else. How many of us have felt that same quiet unease, that sense that something just isn't right? For another mother, the decision was not a slow burn, but a single terrifying flash. She was in New Orleans on Mardi Gras Day with her 2 young sons, just 1 and 2 years old. They were surrounded by a crowd of thousands, caught up in a celebration, when the unthinkable happened. A terrifying incident of public violence erupted right in front of them. She recalls being close enough to see the source of the chaos. And in that moment, something inside her shifted permanently. Her decision to leave wasn't about politics or economics. It was, in her words, about fear. A constant, low-level hum of anxiety that she simply did not want as the soundtrack to her children's lives. After moving to Canada, she described a profound change. Not that life is perfect, because bad things can happen anywhere. But, she says, the feeling is different. That impending sense of doom was finally gone. Can you put a price on that feeling? On the simple peace of mind that comes from walking down the street without that constant, nagging worry in the back of your mind? The evidence for this shift isn't just in personal stories. It's showing up in the most unexpected of places. Take, for instance, a real estate transaction coordinator with 15 years of experience in the North and South Carolina markets. She isn't an economist or a sociologist. She's just a professional who processes the paperwork when people buy and sell their homes. And for 9 years running her own business, she had never seen what she is seeing right now. In the past, she might handle 1 sale a year where a family was moving abroad. 1. But recently, out of just 11 homes she was managing, 5 of them were being sold by families leaving the country. Nearly half. And these weren't small starter homes. Every single one was valued at over $1 million. This wasn't happening in the famously expensive markets of California. This was in the Carolinas. As she put it, it feels like a red flashing light, a warning sign from the very people who have the means to live anywhere they choose. It's a quirky but powerful signal from deep within the economy. For years, one of the most accepted facts of American life was its magnetic pull. The nation was a beacon for talent, ambition, and wealth from all over the world. But this real estate professional's experience hints at a new, unsettling question. What does it mean when the wealthy, the successful, the people who anchor communities start quietly packing their bags? This trend raises a profound question that scholars and thinkers are now beginning to debate. Is this exodus simply a temporary reaction to our turbulent times, a short-term response to political division and social stress? Or are we witnessing the start of a more permanent structural change in how people view North America? Perhaps the very definition of the good life on this continent is being redrawn, not by governments or by corporations, but by the personal choices of thousands of ordinary families who are simply seeking a quieter, safer place to call home. The story, it seems, is no longer just about who is coming to America, but about who is choosing to leave. If this story resonates with you, feel free to share your thoughts below. So if a search for personal peace and a feeling of safety are the powerful forces pushing people to reconsider their home, what is the pull? What is it exactly that they are finding on the other side of that long, peaceful border that makes the immense challenge of uprooting a life seem worth it? The answer often begins with one of the most fundamental human needs: health. Breaking news reports from just last year painted a startling picture. The number of American doctors applying to practice in Canada had risen by a staggering 750% in just a few months. This isn't just a statistic. It represents thousands of highly trained medical professionals, born and educated in the United States, making the difficult choice to leave. One doctor, who had packed up his entire family, expressed his sorrow for leaving his American patients behind. But his concern for the direction of the American healthcare system was even greater. These doctors, many of whom were interviewed for the story, said their decision wasn't about income. In fact, many expected to earn less. Their driving force was a deep concern over the system itself. They pointed to severe cuts in funding for programs that support the most vulnerable, and a shifting of priorities that they felt undermined science and patient care. It's a profound statement when the healers of a nation begin to feel that the system they work within is becoming unhealthy. In Canada, they see a different philosophy: a universal public healthcare system where people are cared for regardless of their income. Imagine the change in perspective for a doctor, moving from a system where treatment can be tied to a patient's finances to one where it is based only on their need. For many, this isn't just a career move, it is a return to the core principles that drew them to medicine in the first place. This fundamental difference in approach extends beyond the hospital walls. It touches the very rhythm of daily life. One woman who made the move to Ontario ticked off a list of reasons for her newfound happiness. At the top of that list was the simple idea that a person shouldn't have to choose between paying a bill and being healthy. Another surprising small detail she mentioned was that in her new home, it's illegal for a landlord to deny you housing simply because you have a pet. It may seem like a minor point, but these small, humane details add up. They paint a picture of a society built around a different set of priorities. Then there is the quiet, constant background noise of safety. The same woman reflected on the deep-seated fear of public gatherings that many Americans carry with them. She notes that in Canada, mass violence isn't considered a normal part of life. It's a simple but profound observation. The idea that you can go to a festival, a parade, or a park, and not have that knot of anxiety in your stomach. It's a freedom that is hard to quantify, but for those who now have it, it is priceless. And the differences weave their way into the very culture of work and community. Many who have moved describe a place where hustle culture isn't glorified. The relentless pressure to work more, earn more, and produce more is replaced by an emphasis on work-life balance. They speak of more generous vacation time, of cities that are walkable and designed for people, not just cars. They describe a society that seems to say, "Slow down and smell the roses." Perhaps the most touching accounts are about the simple human reception. The mother who left her ranch in Montana shared a powerful contrast. When she moved to Montana, she was met with a surprising amount of hostility and hate mail from locals who saw her as an outsider. But when she arrived in Calgary, Alberta, just to explore, she was overwhelmed with kindness. Her direct messages were filled with local people offering help, welcoming her family, and making her feel like she belonged. This tale of two systems leads us to a fascinating and complex debate. It is not a simple story of a good system versus a bad one. Both the American and Canadian ways of life have their own unique strengths and their own undeniable challenges. The U.S. system is a powerhouse of innovation, while Canada's universal approach faces its own pressures with things like wait times. The unresolved question is not which system is perfect, but rather which set of compromises are people willing to live with. What does it signal when a growing number of people, raised and educated in one system, consciously choose the challenges and benefits of the other? They are trading one set of problems they find unbearable for a different set they find more manageable, all in the pursuit of a better life. This growing movement of people isn't happening in a vacuum. It is not just a one-way flow of Americans seeking something different. It's being met by a deliberate, strategic, and remarkably open invitation from the North. Canada isn't just passively waiting for talent to arrive on its doorstep. They are actively unrolling the welcome mat and sending out personal invitations. The Premier of British Columbia was remarkably direct in his message to American professionals. He didn't speak in coded language or bureaucratic jargon. His message was straightforward. In British Columbia, you will be valued. Your principles will be respected, and you will have the opportunity to provide care to people, not based on how much they earn, but based on the level of care that they need. It's a message designed to resonate deeply with those feeling undervalued or at odds with the system they're in. And these are not just empty words. They are backed by concrete, aggressive policy changes. Consider the experience of an American-trained nurse wanting to work in British Columbia. Previously, the process could take months of waiting and paperwork. In a bold move, the province slashed that waiting period to a matter of days. They essentially created a fast pass for the very professionals their health system needs. The result? Applications from U.S.-trained nurses to the province have more than doubled, jumping by 127%. And they've made it clear that doctors are next, with changes already in the works to welcome them just as quickly. This strategic recruitment extends far beyond healthcare. In the competitive world of technology, Canada has launched what it calls the Global Talent Stream. It's a program that promises a stunning 2-week visa processing time for certain high-skilled workers. Think about that. In the time it takes to get a driver's license renewed in some places, Canada can approve a visa for a world-class engineer or scientist. They've also created a tech talent strategy that specifically targets American tech workers who have been laid off by U.S. companies. They are, to put it plainly, actively headhunting in a way that is both savvy and incredibly effective. This isn't a coincidence. It is a calculated plan. Canadian provinces are tailoring their immigration streams to attract, and some might even say poach, American professionals. And the numbers show that it is working. Over the past 5 years, overall immigration from the U.S. to Canada has climbed by more than 30%. The top destinations are the ones you might expect: Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal. But the list also includes cities like Halifax, showing that the appeal is spreading across the country. This phenomenon is leading thinkers to coin a new term. For decades, we've talked about the brain drain, where a country loses its top minds to other nations. But what's happening now is being described as a brain migration. The term implies something more intentional, more permanent. It's not just a leak. It's a rerouting of the very flow of human capital on the continent. It's a quiet but seismic shift. This raises a difficult question, one that economists and social scientists are now grappling with. What is the true long-term cost to a nation when it begins to lose its thinkers, its innovators, its builders, and its healers? Imagine a future where the United States continues to fund the world's best universities and medical schools, investing immense resources to train the next generation, only to watch a significant number of them take that knowledge, that skill, and that ambition to another country that made them feel more welcome. The debate is no longer about whether this is happening, but about its consequences. At what point does this migration of talent begin to tangibly impact America's own economic growth, its leadership in innovation, and the quality of its healthcare? It's an unresolved question, but one that hangs over this entire trend. Canada is not just offering a refuge from the storm, it is building a new harbor and sending out its own ships to guide people in. They have correctly identified that a nation's greatest resource is its people, and they are making it as easy as possible for America's best and brightest to call Canada home. What we are witnessing is more than just a passing trend or a collection of anecdotes. It is a profound signal of a deep, internal shift. This brain migration, this quiet exodus, is a story about the re-evaluation of a nation's promise. For centuries, the American dream was a powerful magnet, drawing people in with the promise of opportunity and freedom. But the stories we've heard suggest that for some, the definition of that dream is changing. The pull is no longer just about economic prosperity. It is about a different kind of wealth, the wealth of well-being. It is about the quiet luxury of safety, the security of knowing that a health crisis won't lead to a financial one, and the simple comfort of feeling valued and welcomed in one's own community. This is not a story of rejection, but one of reaffirmation, a reaffirmation of the fundamental human desire to build a peaceful, stable, and healthy life for oneself and for the next generation. It leaves us with a gentle but significant question to ponder. What does it mean for the soul of a nation when its own people, the very embodiment of its success, begin to believe that the dream they are searching for can now be found somewhere else? Until next time, stay curious and take care.